Hey, what's going on? It's a little bit weird for me because I have the camera right in front of me, but the screen is to the left. I'm not using a laptop anymore. Before I had a laptop with a screen and the camera were both in the same place. So this is weird because do I look at the camera or do I look at the screen? Do I spend the whole time looking at the screen, looking at myself and looking like this? I feel this is weird. So But anyway, I don't expect a lot of people to pop up in here because it's like almost midnight East Coast time, and it's also like no pre-announcement. I didn't tell anybody I was doing this. I didn't post anywhere. So usually you got to post a couple of places to get a lot of people to show up to get people ready. This is an impromptu kind of thing, but the reason I posted this now, the reason I did it now is because I feel like I just want to break the inertia, the lack of momentum of not doing live streams. So, yeah, the this is a good question, but if I get into it now, it's gonna kind of make the video longer. And I know how people hate when I take too long to get to the topic. Like people are already probably assessed 1 minute and 40. Someone's already gonna say, T, it took 2 minutes to get in. No, this is the low attention span type of generation. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna answer this, but later in the video, like as a wrap up. I'll get back to this. I just want to jump right into the topic. But people who watch YouTube regularly, I don't think have this problem because YouTube people have strong attention spans. Like when I watch that FD Signifier guy's videos, he has a 20-minute preamble just setting up what he's going to talk about. And everyone's like, yay. But I think a problem with me is I made the mistake of building a following off of a Twitter. And people on Twitter are just brain dead. I hate to admit it, but um when Twitter people follow you to someplace else, their brains are just preconditioned for I need everything in super digestible. Hit me with it right away. What the point is, it's crazy. But yeah, so that used to piss me off on YouTube and people come in, hey, y'all took too long. It's 4 minutes. I'm like, there's a scroll button right in the bottom. You can do this at double speed. Like, what important thing do you have to do? That's so important, that 2 minutes. Like, oh, sorry, Mr. Day Trader. Like, sorry, you lost 2 minutes. You lost $1 million. You're the 2 minute guy. You if you don't have your every minute accounted for, there's millions at stake, Mr. CEO. Like, fuck out of here. Uh, you know, but no one said anything stupid. I'm just making a joke about. Okay, I'm at the 3 minute mark. I haven't gotten to the point, so let me get to the point. I'm trying to pander to the low attention span crowd. So anyway, there was a video that was making the rounds, and I feel bad because lately I feel like I'm always sounding like the my generation guy and talking about this generation and my day, and I don't want to be that guy, but this was a perfect this generation is losing their mind type of video to me because seeing something dumb or whatever is not a big deal because any single person can say anything dumb in any era of human existence. The disheartening thing is when you see too many people co-signing the dumb thing. That's when you get disheartened where you're like, shit, this. And I shouldn't say generation because it's not generation, it's an era. An era is different than a generation. Then I should stop saying generation because in this era, the type of mentality I'm thinking of, I see it in 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds. It's something I've started calling trickle up immaturity. Like if you hit a certain age, but you haven't done certain milestones of responsibility or maturity, or maybe you did those things and maybe you did them too soon and you burnt out. So now you want a second childhood. Like I shouldn't say generation because there's plenty of people who are my age and older who say the same type of stuff. It's it's an era, it's a moment more than it is a generational thing. It's this era, and I'm sure everyone saying this thing that I'm talking about was not all millennials or Gen Zs, and yeah, I lost some weight. Thank you for noticing. Yeah, I lost about from the peak of the pandemic. I think I lost about 40 pounds. About that's one of the reasons why I haven't been streaming that much because I just been in the gym a lot and changing the diet. I was actually thinking of doing like an exercise and diet video or whatever, like a series of them. But I was thinking I don't want to be one of those channels that talks about 50 things and doesn't have like an actual focus. So if I was to do that, I think I'd have to make a whole second lifestyle channel. But I'm like to do that, I can barely keep up videos on the one channel. Like I need to actually prove myself to be consistent on one channel before I start being one of these two channel motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it sounds like a lot 40, but it's like over the course of like over a year. So it's not like it's kind of boring. It's not like one of those hey, I lost 40 pounds in 3 months videos. Like those are like wow. This is like it was very, very slow. Like it was not it was a very slow going process. But I mean I'm still proud of it anyway. But I was extra big before because I let myself go in the pandemic. So it's really just mostly me getting back to normal more than it's me like hitting any new high. Uh you're killing me, Naja. Okay, but this is the video I was um talking about that was depressing me with the people that was depressing me with the people talking about it. Let me get the right. Okay, here we go. Some of you hear the audio on this.
Sometimes a woman can talk her out of a relationship. You can talk. We do that.
Yes,
we will talk.
I'm gonna say something, and this might ruffle little feathers. I don't think just being a good man is enough to stay in a relationship with them.
But when I say a good man, I mean like he's good. All that means all around. That means himself, spiritually, mentally, physically.
That's great.
Healthily, like he's a good man.
Now I want you to hear what she said, and in fact, let me write it down so I can address this rightly. She said, all around, physically, spiritually, mentally, and health wise. So physically is not even his health because she gave a second statement for health. So I think physically just means like his looks. So he looks good. That's physically. He's healthy, you know. There's spiritually. That means that he's a good person spiritually. He's right with God. He's right. Maybe he's even an atheist, but he's got. You can be an atheist and have a good spirit. Like that's not even means religious. That means its own thing. You know, mentally means he's intellectual. He's smart. And did she say financially? I think she said financially too.
Yeah. That doesn't mean that he's the man for.
Actually,
mean that he's
that mentally, spiritually, mental, spiritually, mentally, physically.
That's great.
Healthily, like he's a good man.
That doesn't mean that he's the man for you.
Should we throw in financially in there? I feel like financially is kind of assumed with a good man because I don't think you can be a good man without being a provider. So I'm going to put financially in there. So let's put that in there. Do you think that's fair, chat?
And right. Maybe when you're going through these motions of getting to know him, you're realizing, okay, he's a great person, but honestly, I don't fuck with his humor. Like he could be funny, but he's not funny to me.
And that's why a lot of modern women are getting 40 with 4 cats and no man because he's a good man, but because he's not funny, you gotta. Right
now, he was just says that maybe that's what they like. Now, I want to back up to this, right?
Of when you're going for you, that doesn't mean that he's the man for you.
That doesn't mean he's the man for you.
And maybe when you're going through these motions of getting to know him, you're realizing, okay, he's a great person, but honestly,
Now, when you're going through the motions of getting to know him, and I'm rewinding this for a reason. But honestly,
I don't fuck with his humor. Like, he could be funny, but he's not funny to me.
He could be. She's not saying he's not even funny. He's not funny to me. And it sounds like I'm repeating myself. You're like, T, why are you going back? But there's a reason I'm picking out specific parts of this because I'm going to come back to them piece by piece.
A lot of modern women are getting 40 with 4 cats and no man because he's a good
and maybe that's what they like. Okay. Now, here's kind of the problem. She's kind of saying something that I think a lot of people aren't seeing, right? So let's look at the responses to this. Somebody tweeted and said, being stupid is really a pandemic. And then I thought there's going to be a lot of people dogpiling on this girl. But I was looking at what was going on, and people were saying, we were agreeing with her. They said, I get what she's saying. Being a good person and being a match for you aren't necessarily synonymous. To be fair, not everyone's going to have chemistry just because they are good people. The problem is most people choose good chemistry over good values. Now, think of what this person said. The premise already said he is good spiritually. So the values are already covered. So why are you bringing up people choose good chemistry over good values? First off, that makes no sense what this guy is saying because he just act like he agreed with her, but she's choosing good chemistry over good values. So what is he talking about? She's talking about, yeah, this guy is good spiritually, but he doesn't have a good sense of humor, and it might even be good humor, it's just not my humor. So, and the reason why what these people are saying is inconsistent is because they're not, when people aren't giving you the real reason why they have a problem with something, that's when inconsistencies come up because they're bullshitting. They're just trying to say what's plausible. Like, if you're doing something that you know is wrong, but you don't want to face up to the fact that you're doing the wrong decision, a lot of times what you're going to do is make up a bullshit plausible this reason that's not the real reason. And people do this to themselves. People won't even tell themselves the real reason why they're saying what they're saying because even that is too real for them. Like the amount of introspection needed to be honest about why you don't want that good man. If you had that level of introspection and self-knowledge, you would want that good man in the first place. Like the exact same traits that make you think that's a good excuse for not being with a good man is the exact limitations that keep you from being honest with yourself about why you don't want that good man. Like, does that make sense? I think what I said there was a little bit heavy, so it might not fully register. But the exact mental block that keeps you from appreciating that good man is the exact same mental block that keeps you from appreciating why you don't appreciate that good man. Like if you're able to sit down and be honest with yourself about why you don't want that good man, then you wouldn't have the problem in the first place of not wanting that good man, right? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The insight or the awareness you need to appreciate a good person is the exact insight or awareness you need to realize why the good person is not resonating with you. So you're kind of stuck. That's why like good advice is kind of wasted on the people who need it the most. Like the people who are already like 3/4 of the way of where they need to be will do more with the good advice than the person who's totally at the bottom because they're too far away to even be able to process the good advice. It's kind of like when you go to the bank is more likely to give money to somebody who already has money. And in a way, it seems unfair because the person who needs money the most, the poorest, in a just world should get the most money. But the bank, this is what the bank is like. Hey, you don't understand money at all. You're poor. I can't give you the money, even though you need it the most. But this guy with money, this is one of the sad ironies of life. Yeah, I'm kind of saying this. Are you seeing the woman in the clip using the lack of humor? She's kind of. She is actually saying the right thing, but she doesn't realize why she's saying this. Now, this is what I'm going to say to you. If you have the right values, and let's go with everything on this list. I wrote down everything on the list, right? Now, I want you to think about this because I think it's one of those things that's so simple, it actually ends up becoming kind of heavy because it's so simple. It's like, when you think about it, it's like, wow. If you are on the same level with somebody physically, spiritually, mentally, health-wise, and financially, you're going to automatically have the same sense of humor as them. Think about that. Humor is very subjective. So, and think about what she said. She goes, he might even be funny, but he's not my kind of funny. What she means is, if somebody's like smarter than you, when they make jokes, you're not going to get them. If somebody is, even things you don't think about with humor, if somebody is financially more responsible than you, you're not going to get the same humor. Like, the jokes you're going to like are going to be like memes like when the paycheck hits on a Friday and it's like you running to the mall. The person who's financially responsible and on their game, the kind of meme about finance they find funny is not going to be like that. It's going to be like when payday hits and it's like some joke about driving around to open houses to look at houses, right? Spiritually, your humor is going to be different. What she is saying when she says my humor might be, he might be a good man. First off, they shouldn't say it a good man, because if you're on point physically, spiritually, mentally, health-wise, and financially, you're not a good man. You're a great man. So the fact that you're even calling it good is already kind of delusional, because if that's good, then what's great? If you're balanced in all these type of things, your humor is going to mesh. And I'll give you like a small example of myself. Like, I was getting back in shape. I was going to the gym a lot and started following fitness influencers to try to like motivate myself. And they would have like gym and boxing jokes and memes. And the more I was going back to the gym and the more I was boxing, I started getting jokes. So like there was this joke about boxers when they get numbers. And when you box, one is the jab. I'm a southpaw, so for me, one would be the right hand, and two is the cross, right? So there was this joke, and this guy's getting a number, and he goes, "Yeah, let me get your number, okay? 973 2 something 3, 1 2 1 2, and 1 2 is jab cross, jab cross." So in the middle of getting the number, he starts trying to punch the girl. But if you don't box, you're not going to get that joke. Like, your interests, your hobbies create your humor. So what she's saying when she says we're not going to have the same type of humor, she's saying I'm not good enough for that guy. She doesn't know that she's saying it. She doesn't realize that she's saying that. But she's saying that. She goes, yeah, he could be a good man, but she doesn't want to say, even to herself, the truth. He may be a good man, but I know I'm not good enough for that. And if I come across that, I'm not going to be able to keep it. He's going to see me for what I am, that I'm not good enough. I don't even want to put myself in a position to get rejected. So she makes up this thing about chemistry. But if his looks aren't a problem, so you can't say it's a physical thing. If his health isn't a problem, if he's smart enough, if he's spiritual, which means he's a good person, if he has money, then why do you care about humor? And the reason she cares about the humor is her way, a coded way of saying, even to herself, I don't measure up. But she doesn't want to say that. So she says humor. But if you're aligned with somebody, like I said, physically, spiritually, mentally, health-wise, financially, you're going to find the same things funny. Right? So that's the thing. And people do that all the time. There's people, I've done this in my life. A lot of people have done this in their life. There's times when somebody shows up in your life and they might like you, whatever, but they're more evolved than where you are now. Then you're faced with a choice. Do I sabotage this and blow this up? I'm not good enough for this person yet, at least in my mind. Or do I step up to the plate? And there's two ways you can go. You can level yourself up. If you level yourself up in all those categories, I guarantee you, you will start finding his humor funny. You will get the same type. Like, I'll give you an example. When I'm on YouTube or Twitter or whatever, I see these people and they're laughing at dumb shit. Like, if and I was telling someone this the other day. If I go on Twitter and I see you cracking jokes about Krishan and Blueface, and you're like, Krishan and Blueface did this again. Oh, girl, Krishan this, that. I already know your credit score. I can guess 8 times out of 10 what your credit score is. And I'm saying that to be mean, but I just know what your credit score is. You know? Like, I know what your spiritual development is. I know whatever. And it's like, well, humor is a proxy for compatibility, but what's compatible? Like, it's not, you're saying the same thing I'm saying. Humor is a proxy for compatibility, but why are you incompatible? Like, what does it mean if you're incompatible with someone who's physically on point, spiritually on point, mentally on point, health-wise on point, and financially on point? If you're incompatible with all those things, it's because you don't measure up. If that's what your humor is telling you. Like, if you're not laughing at the same things because you're in different levels of development. When one of the biggest markers of maturity is what you find funny. You know, what you find funny is one of the biggest markers of maturity. And so when I saw that, I said, you know what? Everybody's talking about all this stuff, but this girl is a mess. And she knows she's a mess. That's the dirty secret about this. She knows she's a mess. And I said, I'm going to look for videos with this girl. And I bet you I'll find proof that she knows she's a mess. And I swear it took me about 5 minutes. They only have one other episode of the podcast up. And I took a look, and let me show you what I found. And I wasn't digging. I wasn't going whatever. This is a little bit of a long video. I did 3 minutes because I want the full context. I feel like these things work better with full context. So let me play this real quick. I hope the sound works. But check this out. You can collapse mental compatibility with, but all compatibilities with humor. Anything. Like, if you're not even physically compatible, you're not going to have the same sense of humor. If you're not spiritually compatible, you're not going to have the same sense of humor. You're not going to be, if you're not intellectually compatible, the joke's going to be too smart for you. Your humor is a combination of everything. So one of the most amorphous, subjective things. Okay, so he said, I feel you can find someone attractive who has a good job, is funny, smart, etc., and y'all still don't jive. Of course you can. But what does that say about you? That's what I'm saying. I didn't say it can't happen. I'm just saying, to me, you've got to do a hard examination as to why. And I think a lot of times, for most times, and maybe this doesn't apply to you, if so, God bless you, But most times, I think it's because you've got more work to do. Because if you're both on the same level physically, spiritually, mentally, health wise, financially, where is the disconnect at that point? What is it, And I'm not saying you should force yourself to like someone you don't like. I think you need a lot of the times, if there's nothing that you can actually point to concrete, a lot of times there's some level of leveling up you need to do that you don't want to admit to yourself you need to do, or you can't believe you're capable of doing it, is what I think the problem is. I'm not saying it's wrong if she wants to be with someone more on her level. Yeah, she's admitting she's a mess without being negative about herself. My problem is a lot of people in the comments and the replies and whatever aren't saying that. And I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to give you an example of how people are just bullshitting about all this, right? Um, See, like what you said is right, but that's not what people are saying. What you're saying is a mature thing. And I think she's actually more mature than a lot of the people on Twitter who are defending her. So take this as a counterexample. Now, this guy, he's got a beard, and a lot of black men with beards on Twitter just love to pander. So he's on some pandering shit, you know, and people are eating up what he's saying. He goes, LMAO, I don't understand the issue. Being a good person should be the bare minimum expectation, not the deciding factor in being with a person. This is a perfect example of a bullshit rationalization, and it's different than what you're saying. Because you're saying is this person admits she's a mess and she doesn't want to but she doesn't want to admit it fully to herself. She's admitting it in code. What you're saying is fine. What this guy is saying, and that's what most of the people on Twitter are saying, is like, oh, that should be the bare minimum. Like this saying, this guy is the bare minimum. This woman is better than that. This guy needs to bring more to the table. So he's saying something different than what she's saying. He's saying that, because first off, what he's describing, that's not the bare minimum. To be good in all those categories, that is not the bare minimum. If that's the bare minimum, like fuck out of here. Because I can guarantee you, a lot of the guys that she fucks with do not come close to being good in all those categories. So if you're telling me that her attitude is that that's the bare minimum, then that means everyone she dates has those things and then some. And I don't believe that. And that's what I'm saying here. I'm not like, what you're saying is right. I'm saying that's not what a lot of other people are actually saying here. See, you're one of the good ones, but you're one of the few. You gotta have the big beard. You have to be the beardo. That's what me and Kenny call beardos. Yeah, yeah. You have a beard, but you're not a beardo. Beardos are the worst. Like, the bigger the beard, the worse of a male feminist they are. And these people do not help women because they tell them all they want to hear. Like, you look at all the replies, they're all loving it. They're like, yeah, thanks for saying that. Everyone's like, oh, exactly, and all this stuff. And I'm like, you guys are bullshitting yourselves. Admit the truth. You don't think you're good enough for someone like that. And the humor is a proxy. And, it's true. Maybe it's not for everybody to level up, but at least be honest. Say, that's too good for me. I'm not compatible with that. I want to be with someone on my level. And the reason why a lot of these people don't like guys with the full now there's something else I'm gonna say. Well, actually, where do I go first here? Okay, let's go to here. Now this guy, and this is where it gets worse. This guy is just putting his whole pander in. He says, maybe it's just because it's women talking, people have an issue. Because men will skip over quote unquote good women every day just because that particular woman doesn't interest them. So now he's saying that people are getting on this woman because women just have it so hard and they're just being misogynist and men get away with this. And I'm like, dude, come on. Like, it doesn't help people to help them lie to themselves and not be honest about themselves to themselves. You know what I'm saying here? This makes sense. Like, I can't stand guys like this because someone like this doesn't really care about women or whatever. He just wants his likes. And it's like a lot of women will like a guy like this because someone like this is not going to force you to level up. And a guy like this doesn't want to force a woman to level up because he'd have to be leveled up himself. He would have to be one of these 5 category all around. Like, he knows on some level that the woman that has a problem with the 5 category all around guy isn't passing him up for a 6 category guy. She's passing him up for a fuck boy. So it's in his interest to keep a woman like this because I feel like the kind of guy who does kind of male feminist pandering is someone who's not well rounded himself. Because you wouldn't be pandering on social media if you were all around guy. So he's acting like he's for women, and the women eat it up. But he's the kind of person that wants to help the woman lie to herself because, to me, I think he benefits from that. And everyone kind of keeps saying to people, saying thank you, preach, I have to agree with you there and whatever. But I bet you a lot of people agreeing don't have a partner. I'm not saying this to be mean, but I'm sure they don't. See, you're right. There are certain intangibles that go into attraction, but those intangibles line up when you're on the same level. Like, you're not, everything you're saying here, Nikki, doesn't disagree with me. You're saying everything I agree with. I agree with all this. How is this different than anything I said? People like what they like. They like what's on their level. And good on paper, okay, that's not good on paper. That's good. Okay? If you are on point physically, if you're on point spiritually, if you're on point mentally, if your health is good, if you're financially, that's good. That's not good on paper. Now, when it's good on paper to you, it's because, like, if you show me 100, if you show me $100 bills, and I don't think I'm worthy of those $100 bills, I can't say that value is good on paper. No, $100 is worth what it's worth. If I'm not good enough to receive the $100, that's whatever. And people sabotage themselves out of money too, but yeah, like, that stuff that guy is saying. See, like, a guy like that is not gonna help you in life. You've Whether you level up to someone else's level and you become honest with yourself as to why, or you admit to yourself, hey, I don't have it going on, but so be it. I'm going to stay on my level. Either way, you have a certain amount of self-awareness. So going back to this comment, I agree with you. It is a good thing. I think she's actually more doing what you're saying, but the people on Twitter are twisting it to their own self-delusion. But she's actually more self-aware than they are. And this is the other thing I was going to share. Hopefully I can make this work. Let's see. Let me know if there's sound with this. If there's not, I have another way to make sound come.
Really wasting their time. I think that's selfish. I get it. There's people that need help, but I think women, we do that the most. Like, we will, because our feelings,
Was there sound with that? If not, let me know. I have another way I can make the sound come. Now, this is kind of true. I'm going to build on this later. Intangibles is just child horseshit conceived by people who spent their whole lives being conventionally attractive. I agree, but I think not just conventionally attractive, really strong in one category, right? something most of the times it's physically, like the looks, but a lot of times when you're so you guys can hear the sound? Okay, great. So I made this clip extra long because you need the early part to give the context. So it's about 3 minutes, but it's only about the last 45 seconds. That's the money shot. So you have to sit through a little bit of it. So let's go.
Really wasting their time. I think that's selfish. I get it. There's people that need help, and I think women, we do that the most. Like we will, because our feelings, we will constantly keep pouring the same stuff into somebody, and we have a hard time with actually doing something about it. And what we don't realize is, which is very selfish, is that we don't think about that person's feelings that we're pouring into. We don't think about how they feel, that we keep pouring the same shit that we know damn well we ain't gonna fix till like damn 15 years later. So, and I just think that's selfish. And I think that like that hurts growth on both. That hurts growth on the woman that's pouring into that, and it hurts growth on the woman that's like actually accepting it, because most of the time we don't say anything because we feel like if we say something, we're not really as good as a friend if we do that. So, but because I've done that before. I'm not gonna lie. Like before, I was all this hardy hard girl, like, oh girl, that's just stupid. But before I was like that, I had my.
Now they're talking about having toxic, crazy, negative, high drama friends. That kind of drain you and keep you from advancing different things.
Fair share of like hearing stuff, and I'm just like, this shit is like really draining me, and she the same person. Like I gotta get out of this shit. But I thought that if I said that, like what I really felt, I thought that I was in the wrong. Like I'm giving up. But in reality, I'm not giving up. I'm looking out for my mental state, and I'm not doing any better by listening to somebody that's constantly depressed and not doing anything about it. Because
they're talking about like giving them on friends who are depressing, not doing anything about it, who are draining, lots of drama, aren't leveling up in life and doing what they got to do. They're like staying stuck and want to keep you listening to their stuckness,
teaching them that it's okay to feel that way. And that's the wrong thing to do.
And that's the crazy thing too. Like when it comes to certain friendships like that, you have to like, I hate how that sounds, but it is what it is. You gotta cut off negativity for all peace. Like I can love you to death, but baby, if you're constantly like negative and I can't deal with it. It's always this emotional post on social media, and you always I can't, baby. I'm gonna have to let you go because it's too much for me.
Man, I'm not gonna lie, I was that person.
Oh, you were?
I used to
really going through it though, or you just wanted attention?
Probably both.
Both. Okay. No, you honest. I like that.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, I like that.
I had to do a lot of work on myself. Okay, honestly, I had both mommy and daddy issues. I had self-worth issues. I had the works. Honestly, like I was getting counseling from like middle school, high school, and then
Now you see what I'm saying, right? When I brought this up about this girl and I brought up this argument in other areas, on Twitter and different places, people were giving me all this horseshit, and I said, I bet you this girl herself doesn't even believe this bullshit about herself that you're saying about the bare minimums and whatever. And sure enough, look at the first video I found. It took me like 5 minutes to find this. And what did you say about herself? She knows this stuff. So do you really think she's not with that guy because she thinks she's too good for him and he's bringing the quote unquote bare minimum, like the pandering guy said? That's let me ask you this. What she's talking about there, what do you think her sense of humor is like? Someone who says this type of stuff about herself. Do you think she likes the type of humor that quote unquote winners like? It probably seems like a whole foreign language to her. So I'm gonna go back to this because to Woodrose says something here, right? So Nikki said this. Damn, you all really disagree with me on this. Yes, there are certain qualities that you can't really articulate sometimes with people you are drawn to romantically. And then to Woodrose said, it's called physical attraction. You're too old to be this naive. But to Woodrose, one of the things in the list was physically on point. So it's not even physical attraction because it says physically, spiritually, mentally, health wise, financially. So the guy that we're talking about, you have to imagine a physically attractive guy. So I wouldn't say it's physically attractive either, because you've kind of put a unintentionally a straw man in there that and that's to me what makes it crazier, because if it'd be one thing if this was somebody who had everything good on paper but was ugly, but the hypothetical includes good looks. So that's another reason why, because that's why she didn't say um what if he has all these things but he's ugly. She said sense of humor, because that was the only thing left she could think of without having to admit the truth that she wasn't because physical attraction is already in the hypothetical, and that's why. And this woman is pretty honest. So if it was his looks, I think she would say it, because look how honest she is about herself. She's talking about herself, the most dead ass way. Like, and that's what I'm saying. In a weird way, I kind of respect her. She's in a way better off than a lot of people, because going back to this, she's admitting she's a mess without being negative about herself. But she has this level of self awareness. But these Twitter weirdos are the ones who are kind of adding on all this girl power, fake shit on it. You know, um, yeah, real talk, MD Mills. Okay, see, you're saying what I'm saying, but it's not wrong. You can find someone attractive and not be attractive to them. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And but why are you not attracted to them? Like, you're restating the problem as a solution. Like, we know this. This is what this whole show is about. Like, a lot of people do this, right? Where there's two things a lot of people do when you bring up something. And I'm not doing this to pick on you, Nikki, or attack you. I just want to make that clear. I know this happens a lot online. A lot of people answer your point with the question. Like, we know you can find someone attractive and not be attracted to them. This is not only not a foreign concept to men, it's the whole topic of the show. I'm saying what I think happens when somebody is good on all levels and you're not attracted to them. I think a lot of times you're not as developed as you need to be, and that's fine as long as you're honest with yourself about it. Some people know they're not as developed as they need to be with someone, and they put on themselves to level up to that person. Some people know I'm not as developed as I need to be with this person. I want to find somebody on my level, but who wants to develop as badly as I do, and the two of us are going to level up together. The third type is I'm not on that level. I'm not on that level, but I don't want to level up. I don't think I can. I don't have the work ethic, whatever. I want to find someone who doesn't want to level up just like I do, and the two of us can just be in the gutter together. That's like the Blueface and Krishan thing right now. Those are two people who just don't want to be all around and level up. Um, do you mean the conversation that I'm doing or the conversation that they're having in the show? I just want to be clear. Um, yeah. Now, what happens is sometimes people miss the lines, or sometimes you get somebody who's like, I'm not good enough for this totally developed person. So I want to find someone who also isn't totally developed. But the first person is someone who I don't want to totally develop, but I want to stay where I am and stagnate. I'm happy being down here. And they give it someone who's on their level, but they mistakenly misread that person as someone who wants to stay stagnant on that level too. But through misalignment or miscommunication or misreading, they actually ended up with someone on that level who wants to level up. Like that person. So the first person is looking for someone on their level who doesn't want to level up just the way they don't. The second person is looking for someone on their level who wants to level up together. And when that happens, that's when you get one person in a couple sabotaging the other. Like you see those couples where it's like one person starts realizing the other person has serious ambitions, and then they start trying to they start trying to sabotage you whenever you try to level up. You know what I mean? Um yeah, so it's see, I disagree with this. Um I don't know if you've ever had someone who's kind of like a anchor, who's just a never-ending source of negativity. But I agree with what they're saying. Like, for someone who wants to grow and change, I don't think you should abandon people at the first sight. But they're talking about putting in a lot of time. Like, these people aren't saying at the first sign that you're fucked up, we're gonna dump you. They, what they described for 2 minutes the guilty feelings they had about giving up on friends, about doing whatever, and saying they felt like bad friends. But um, like, I think you're conflating a different type of thing that we see online all the time. Like, there's people who do these tweets and posts about how their friend asked them to help them move or drive them to the airport, and they send them a letter about, I don't want to do emotional labor. I don't think they're talking about that. Like, I agree with you in theory about what you're saying. I just don't think it's fair to attach it to what these women are talking about. Like, these women are talking about, if you replay the video, they're talking about when you keep trying to be this person for somebody. Because I really believe that I've been around people who I had to kind of make a distance, because I'm like, they're going to drag me down because I've done everything I can do, and they just are a never ending source of drama and whatever. But yeah, so this woman doesn't even believe what these other people are saying about her. Let me keep going.
College, I stopped getting it, and I kind of spiraled a little bit because I had no one to talk to. And then that's when I started dating, was around college, and it's just like, it's just like, and even to this day, I'm
So let me back it up so you can get on context. She started dating at her worst. Now, someone who started dating at her worst, what do you think they're gonna see when they see a guy who's together physically, spiritually, mentally, health wise, and financially? And physically means like good looking, right? But there's something else you gotta notice about her. And let's be honest, she's fine. She is bad. She's a baddie. So what she is a very imbalanced person. So let's say she's really good physically. That's her strength. Now, what she's gonna like is somebody who's messed up in 4 or 5 areas, but really strong in one area like her. That's why people like this, because, okay, on average, if you're good and evolved in every area, you're probably gonna do okay in life. You're probably gonna do okay financially. You probably get a good career. You might not be spectacular in your career, or you might be spectacular in your career, but chances are, more times than not, and there's always going to be exceptions. So don't go in the comments and tell me, I have a cousin that was, great in everything, but now he's homeless. Like, no, that always happens. There's always exceptions. But overall, if you're good across the board, you're probably going to be okay in life. You might be super rich. You might just be, low six figures, stable. But, maybe even high five figures, but in a low cost of living state. But, you know, you're probably going to be okay. But sometimes in life, you can be so strong in one area that you can be financially successful, even wildly financially successful, without having to be a well-rounded person. Like, take people who are really skilled actors or singers, athletes, entertainers, models, whatever. They're super strong physically. Like, they look really good. And then because they're so strong in the physical, like, they have a lot of physical skills. They can dunk a basketball. They can read a screen in like 3 seconds and throw perfect quarterback passes and do running plays, whatever. And you know, because they're really strong in that one area, they're able to get strong in a second area, which is financial. Like, hey, I'm Naomi Campbell. I'm one of the hottest women on the planet. And I've taken that one strength that I'm so disproportionately strong in and made myself really strong in the second place, which is financial. I'm, this athlete, what's that guy? Antonio? Is that Antonio Brown? Who's the guy that's always getting in trouble? He just posted a picture of his ex giving him his baby mama giving him dome. I forget his name, but that guy. He's really gifted physically, and he's really gifted athletically. He's really gifted financially. But spiritually and mentally, he's in the pits, right? People who are really strong in one or two out of five areas what they have a sense of humor with, what they resonate with, what they have connection with is similarly imbalanced people. That's why people like her, what they like on average are she's someone who's really strong in one or two areas, in this case her looks. And that's why a lot of these women, they want like ballers, they want um, football players and athletes. They want rappers. That's who you see them kind of get with. That's what you see with Krishan and Blueface. They're both good-looking people, and Blueface has some money, and they get together. Neither of them, Antonio Brown, neither of them wants a six-pillar person. You know, um, they they don't want that. Yeah, it's it's and that's the kind of problem. So let's go back to what you were saying.
So much better, but I still just like high school. Probably both. And I'm not gonna lie.
I can't, baby. I'm gonna have to let you go because it's too much for me.
Man, I'm not gonna lie. I was that person.
Oh, you were?
I used to
you really going through it though? Or you just wanted attention?
Probably both.
Both. Okay. No, you honest. I like that.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, I like
no,
that.
I had to do a lot of work on
Work on
myself.
yourself. Okay, that's
Honestly, I had both mommy and daddy issues. I
Yeah.
had self-worth issues. I had the works. Honestly, like I was getting counseling from like middle school, high school, and then college. I stopped getting it, and I kind of spiraled a little bit because I had no one to talk to. And then that's when I started dating. Was around college, and it's just like it's just like, and even to this day, I'm so much better, but I still think like therapy or counseling would be helpful.
So she says, I'm really psychoanalyzing the lady off of two clips. Who am I to say she's not balanced in all areas? She just said it. What am I making up? She just said that she was a mess. She was spiraling out of control. She had mommy and daddy issues. And that when she started dating, she couldn't even handle it. Like, you make it sound like I'm reaching. I'm not mind reading here. She said it. If this is not imbalanced, then what is imbalanced? Like, I mean, it's nice that she's doing the work, but at the same time, she said that she gave up the therapy. So is she doing the work? Like, you're saying I'm psychoanalyzing her. I'm using her own words. She's saying this. Like you make it sound like I'm mind reading. I don't know what else. Like, let's keep going.
Because it's like a non-biased person to get an overview of like what you're dealing with and give you some perspective and questions to ponder on, like, is this the best thing for you?
I'm like 50-50 when it comes to therapy. I did it at the end.
Yeah. So it's like I mean, at some point, like you say, who am I to make this judgment on her? But you said She had issues, past tense. Okay. Hold on. Give me a second. Had issues, past tense. Give me a second.
Really wasting their time. I think that's selfish. I get it. There's people that need help, but and I think
for some reason this is sideways. Why is it sideways now? That's really weird. Hold on a second. Let me see if I could turn this rotated. I don't know why this became sideways. Let me try it. Hold on. Give me a second. Okay, let me try to fix this for a second. That's so weird. This is sideways now. Okay, screw it. Let's play it sideways because I've already gone on too long. So I'm going to put it back on the screen sideways, unfortunately.
Really wasting their
Worth issues. Probably both.
For me.
Yeah. Man, I'm not gonna lie, I was that person.
She was that person.
You were?
I used
were
to
you really going through it though? Or you just wanted attention?
Probably both.
Both. Okay. No, you honest. I like that.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So
Like
she said
I
she
had
was.
to do a lot of work on myself.
Okay, that's
honestly, I had both mommy and daddy issues. I
Yeah.
had self-worth issues. I had the works. Honestly, like I was getting counseling from like middle school, high school, and then college. I stopped getting it, and I kind of spiraled a little bit.
So she stopped getting the counseling and then she spiraled. So that means that she didn't get enough that she needed yet. Okay.
I had no one to talk to.
Yeah.
And then that's when I started dating. Was around college, and it's just like,
Yeah.
So she's saying that the dating went bad because she stopped the counseling too early. She spiraled. That she tried to date. So now she has extra dating trauma.
Yeah.
It's just like, and even to this day, I'm so much better, but I still think like therapy or.
So she goes, to this day, I'm so much better. She didn't say she's all the way better yet. I'm so much better, but still, I think therapy is a good thing, and I need. So she's better than she was.
Counseling would be helpful.
She thinks therapy would still be helpful. So she didn't put it on the past tense. She said that she was all this stuff. She quit therapy too early. She spiraled out of control. Then she tried to date, and it went really badly. And now she's better than she was, but she could still use going back to a therapist. So she's saying she's better, but all those issues haven't been cured. Now she listed daddy issues, mommy issues, all this stuff. That stuff kind of scars you. It doesn't go away easily. And when you're with somebody who's totally together, a lot of times that exposes you to yourself. It makes you worried. You feel, and I say this as someone who had a lot of childhood trauma, you have a lot of trouble really fully jettisoning it. Nobody without a lot of work gets rid of all those scars easily. You know what I mean? And she herself is admitting she didn't cross the finish line yet. She's better than she was, but she didn't cross the finish line yet. You see what I'm saying? So it's like I'm not psychoanalyzing her. She's saying this stuff. She's psychoanalyzing herself. I'm just giving, and it's good she's doing the work, but she didn't finish the work by her own admission. She had most of her hard time after she did the first round of work, and she admitted herself that she quit it too early and she thinks she could benefit from. So someone who says I could benefit from more therapy, am I really reaching when I say that the person is perfectly together now, they might be scared of them? And I know it's not pleasant to hear. It's not the affirming thing that a lot of people want to hear, but that's a problem with now. everybody wants to be affirmed more than anything. And I think the truth is the most affirming thing of all. Because when you be honest about stuff like that, you know how much further you have to go. It feels worse in the short run, but now you actually know how much work you have to do and what you have to attack. But this idea that I'm psychoanalyzing her or it's just my opinion, no, it's just her opinion. I'm just repeating her opinion. You know what I mean? Um, I mean, at the end of the day, I just think that's what it is. And you're welcome to disagree to disagree, Nikki. You know, it's your right to disagree, but I just think it's interesting. You're saying I'm psychoanalyzing, I'm guessing, but I think it's interesting that based on the first clip, I knew I was going to find the second clip. If 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 I was to talk to those other people and both of us were to bet what we'd find from her in later clips, I would have won. What I expected to find, I found instantly. And I think that's what intuition is. Intuition, you have to learn to make logical inferences from past experiences on a little bit of evidence. And one of the reasons why a lot of people make bad choices because we just want to keep, how do I put this? And I say this from personal experience. I'm not trying to beat up on anybody, but from personal experience, a lot of times you want to put the positive spin and believe the best in people. And with age, I've just been making quicker and quicker snap decisions because I've just started learning with experience how to spot a certain type of person. And I've wasted a lot of time in friendships and relationships in different areas where it's like, if you wear rose colored glasses, red flags just look like flags. That's a big problem. Uh, when you wear rose colored glasses, red flags just look like flags. And um, that was from BoJack Horseman, a show I don't normally like, but that line I thought was very true, you know. And I think my advice to her would do nothing but help her because honestly, it aligns with what she says about herself. She has more work she needs to do. She herself says she needs more therapy. So I don't really see what I'm saying is as being harmful to her. I think we're actually kind of aligned. That's just my opinion. Um, maybe it's confirmation bias. Maybe it could totally be. Yeah, maybe it could totally be confirmation bias. And by the end of the day, you've got to make your choice. You could be the person who thinks this is confirmation bias. I'm gonna believe the best in a person despite all the red flags they're giving me. You could be someone who's like, I want to help people, but you know, all I could say is if I was a guy who was together physically, spiritually, mentally, health wise, financially, looks wise, and someone was giving me these signals, I'd be like, okay, you're not ready for me. And I think it would be disaster if she got with a guy like that because she's not ready yet. And to her credit, I think she realized that about herself. She just calls it sense of humor or whatever. Like she knows what it is. She puts it in a. I'm not so much dumping on her. I'm more dumping on the people on Twitter saying crazy stuff and who are saying something different than what she's saying. You know, they're saying stuff about this is a bare minimum kind of guy. It's because of feminism and, you know, it's a double standard with men and women, and men get to say women aren't up to their standards all the time, but, you know, men can't. And all that stuff I think is bullshit. That's not true. Men get it. in as much trouble for turning down what's supposed to be a quote unquote good woman. Like it's the bullshit that people are saying. Like people are talking all this stuff that I think the evidence doesn't line up with. Like people are they find some other examples of stuff that people were saying. So at the end of the day, I think if somebody's together in all the right ways, including physically, so you can't say, oh, this person has everything right, but they're ugly. If they're even good looking, they're financially, they're spiritually, whatever. And you're saying stuff like sense of humor. Sense of humor changes with time. Sense of humor, if you're throwing away 20 or 10%, if you're throwing away 80 or 90% for 10 to 20%, you know what I mean? And it's like, let me tell you something. If I find a woman that aligns physically, spiritually, mentally, health-wise, financially, and she has a sense of humor, she's funny, but just not my kind of funny, I'll fucking watch stand-up specials. Like, someone doesn't have to be 100%. I will watch fucking stand-up specials and just watch. You know how many things I found funny 5-10 years ago that I don't find funny now? Imagine I based my whole life decisions on the kind of things I found funny 5-10 years ago. Like that stuff changes. And I think the reason she's talking about throwing away the 80 to 90% over the 10 to 20% is because it's not really about the 10 to 20%. It's that 10 to 20% is not working because she's not aligned with the 80 to 90%. And that's the real problem. But to her credit, I think she kind of realizes that, even if she doesn't fully realize that she realizes that. Like just certain things that she's been saying, I think kind of reveal that she knows that. And that's kind of my problem, is all the people on Twitter who are just taking an immature take on it all. So hold on. So here's the tweet again, and you see someone says, every time someone says anything along the lines of, that's why you're gonna be 40 plus alone with a bunch of cats, I'm like, don't threaten me with a good time. And that's like what she said before about maybe they like being with cats. Like, that's something that a lot of people do. Like, when someone says you're not gonna be successful if you follow this route, well, they're like, well, maybe I like being, a failure. Like, that's kind of a way of giving up, I feel. Like, if you really feel that way, okay, whatever, but don't pretend everybody feels that way. I feel like a lot of times people pretend they want the lower standard because they think that's all they can get. So she didn't say anything wrong. Not everyone is good for you. That's what she meant, and she's absolutely right. Okay, but like I said, why is this person not good for you? When someone is perfect on paper and they physically look good and they're not good for you, you have to examine why. You have to figure out, why is this person not good for me? And that's the problem. See, and this guy has it wrong. He says, to get a wife today, y'all boys got to be a CEO, poet, chef, gangster, comedian, psychiatrist, psychologist. Otherwise, she's settling. And he's saying that based on what the people on Twitter are misinterpreting her as saying. But she's not actually saying he's not good enough for me. Like I said, people are using their Twitter feminism and projecting on this woman. I think what she's low-key saying is, I'm not good enough for him. Like, I bet you if you look at the people that she's actually dated and been head over heels for, they're not all these things. CEO, poet, chef. They're and if I look at her other things, I'll be very curious to see what she says about her past relationships. See, breaking news: being a good person doesn't mean you have a romantic connection with everyone you encounter. And again, no one said you should, but if you don't, why? And it's not just to women. If a guy said, hey, if a woman is together, she's hot, she's like looks like a model, and she's goes to church every weekend, and she's a PhD mentally, and she's in good health, and she's got like a fat 401k, but I don't really like, and she can cook and everything, but I don't really like how shorty laughs. People be like, "Yo, dude, are you okay?" You know, like people are making this into like this kind of feminist issue, which I think it's social media. That's what people do. You know, Baby's right. Being a good man isn't enough. If that's all it took, good men would clean up. You need edge, charisma. Like people just making up excuses here, right? Now, what the fuck is edge? And who's to say like he doesn't have it? If he's mentally on point, if he's financially on point, if he's physically on point, he's gonna have some kind of edge to him. She needs to be sexually attracted to you, but the hypothetical already said that he's physically on point. So people are just making up that he's ugly. Like people are just making up stuff that he doesn't have an edge. He doesn't, and edge, that's the stupidest thing. If you're giving up financial stability, good values, good looks, money in the bank, good spiritual values and whatever for edge, then the problem isn't that the guy is not good enough for you. You're not good enough. You're a ridiculous person. Um, all sis with the pixie cut saying is, if we don't click, we don't click. Doesn't matter how much money he has, how nice he treats her. If they don't click, they don't click. That's reasonable. Most of y'all be in relationships to benefit from them and don't actually be happy. First off, you should benefit from a relationship. But second, this is the lack of introspection. Why are you not clicking? Like, you can't go through life like that. You can't just go through life, hey, if we don't click, it don't click. If you go to like 5 jobs in a row and they're good jobs, bet you had a friend who did 5 jobs in a row and they're good jobs on paper, and they just keep quitting their jobs and their career's in the toilet now at 40. And you said, hey, why are you unemployable now? Well, I quit 5 jobs. Oh, well, if you don't like jobs, you don't like them. Like, you would tell the person, you need to do an examination as to why you're quitting these jobs. At some point, the problem's you. If you have everything is good, like was your boss an asshole? No. The boss just kind of looked at me funny. We had a weird vibe. Like, one of the weirdest things I notice about people now, they expect more from their they have more respect for their jobs than their relationships. Like, they would put in the work to make it work with their job more than they would to make it work in a relationship. Like, if a job was like 80% there, but there was one part of a job very vague, like my manager's a weird vibe, they would stick it out or they would try to figure out what's going on. You know what I mean? I find it very bizarre. That's all I'm gonna say. Um so let me see what people are. I don't think they're conflating good man with nice guy. I think they know it's a good man, but they can't admit that they're afraid of a good man. Like I think these people are deliberately misunderstanding the point because it's easier to dismiss a straw man. Like, the words were clear as day. Like the words that the woman said were clear as day. She gave the 6 categories the guy is good in. So if she's saying nice guys because she's trying to distract the people in the tweets, they're bringing up all types of people. Like, one person brought up like someone who's abusive to you, and they're like, oh, this guy can have all this stuff and be abusive to you, but the list had spiritually in it, as in spiritually on point. So if the person is spiritually on point, they're not going to be abusive. So why are you bringing up a hypothetically abusive person? And there's no reason for you to naturally make that mistake. There's no reason for you to naturally conflate abusive guy with the 6 category guy, quote unquote nice guy. They're doing that because they actually fully understand that they're talking about a good guy. But who wants to admit, I'm just gonna fumble the bag if I get a good guy? Um, you know, so they have a vested interest in misunderstanding the point. This is not an honest accidental mistake. Is my my she probably would know how to handle a good man based on her past experiences as she described them. But that's a lot of people, and that's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to beat up on her. I think a lot of us have to kind of be honest with that about ourselves. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's just my thought. Um, yeah. So what these people are saying, they're bringing up all these straw men to kind of make their point stand. What disregarding compatibility just because they're a good person? Being a good person is the bare minimum, and it shouldn't be the only determining factor. But again, if you're not compatible with a good person, see, a good person is not the bare minimum. And I guarantee you, they keep saying bare minimum as if this woman and this person making the tweet routinely get better. And I bet you they don't. Like this person making this tweet, do you think she really gets people with these 6 categories as the bare minimum and she's acting for more? Most of these people, when they talk about dating and stuff, their dating stories on their timelines are always fucking messy as hell. They're getting flown out to different places because a guy had a Twitter account with nice cars and do whatever. Like these people are always doing the messiest dating stories, but then they'll go and say to one of these videos, that's just the bare minimum. Like this I like these people say there's no good men, a lot of these people online, but then when they see these stories about good men, they claim that's the bare minimum and you need more. And it's like I said, most people are imbalanced and they want imbalanced people, and balanced people scare them. Like attracts like, you know. Listen, I've met good men and it wasn't enough. No chemistry, no magic, no sparks. It wasn't enough for me. And let me ask you, what makes these people the equivalent of the man they're rejecting? Like, to what extent do you think all these people are physically on point, spiritually on point, mentally on point, perfect health, and perfect financial? Because there's like 8,000 tweets all saying the same thing. You mean to me there's 8,000 people retweeting this and they're all the mirror image of this guy they're saying is the bare minimum? Like, I'm very skeptical all these people dunking on this on Twitter hit these 6 things themselves to the point that they can call this the bare minimum. These people a lot of times don't even qualify for, you know, the regular guy. You know what I mean? And there's people keep saying the same thing over and over again. Stupid because she understands the importance of compatibility in relationships. I thought this was a common concept. No one should settle on account of someone being a good person. And again, using the word settle, that means that you think this woman is all this and then some. And like I pointed out before, she doesn't even believe this about herself. So the fact that you interpreted this as her saying settle, she didn't say that, you projected that. But also, and this is what I'm saying, it's a very scary thing to me, this era and this lack of maturity and accountability. Very few people are together in all these categories. I don't even think, I'm skeptical to say I'm good in all these categories because I think it'd always be better. And I have my doubts on if I can hit all these categories myself. To see all these people just blatantly saying, which this woman didn't even say herself, that this is the bare minimum. She said nothing about this is the bare minimum. I need better. If you look at the rest of her videos and put the context of the other things she says, I would say she does not think that this is the bare minimum. I think she would actually come closer to agreeing with me that she needs to work to get there. But again, this idea, I don't like something, I feel a little bit incompatibility, I'm not going to reflect or figure out why. The problem's got to be the other person. This person has 5 or 6 things right with them, including looks, including money, but something doesn't vibe. First off, the fact that it doesn't vibe and everything else is good, because again, your vibe with someone, those intangibles, you know what intangibles are? Intangibles come from the tangibles aligning. When your tangibles align, the intangibles come with it. Like if you're spiritually on point, if you're physically on point, if you're mentally on point, if you're health wise on point, financially on point, you're not gonna have intangible vibes with like Krishan. You know what I mean? If you're a woman, if you're Michelle Obama, you're not really gonna have tangible vibes with a blue face. I mean, intangibles. You know what I mean? I'm talking about for relationships, not just for sex. Sex, all you need is a physical or sense of humor, whatever. But so that's all I'm saying. And I think in general, if what I said is makes you defensive, that's something to examine too. Yeah, and this is what I was saying too. It's hard to be an all-around good adult. You're better off finding someone who's striving to be that, or if you're not striving to be that, find someone who's not striving with you, and y'all can just make each other miserable. You know what I mean? Yeah, and so be it. But um, I mean, I can do a call. I can do a follow-up call in on this. Yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with wanting someone better than you if you can admit that they're better than you and act accordingly and level up and know you're going to meet them on their level. Because a lot of people don't mind someone who's not as good as them, but they want to get better. Like, I think you're better off with somebody who's 60% of where you are, but they have the drive to get to 100%. And you can see that in them. There's somebody who's 90% where you are, but they're stubborn as a mule. In the beginning, it'll seem better, but as you get older, that 10% is going to annoy you and it's going to grow. And that 10% is going to become 20%. You're going to start growing. You'd be surprised how much that 10% can drive a wedge and grow. Like, I always tell people, you're never going to be 100% with somebody, but whatever percent you're not with somebody, can you live with it for the rest of their life, your life, if they don't change? Like, what's the likelihood of them changing? And if it's somebody who makes it clear you can't tell them nothing, they're perfect the way they are, they're as good as or better than you, and they can't take any instruction from you, you're better off with somebody who has like a bigger gap, but they're willing to take instruction. They're willing to, like, you're doing better than me. You know more than me. I'm willing to learn from you because you figured out stuff I haven't figured out yet. And it's not a gender thing, whether a guy or a woman, whatever. Yeah. So like, the problem isn't somebody's better with somebody, but there's something called hostile dependency. That's when one person is kind of dependent on another person, but they resent it. And there's relationships like that. Like, one person's a housewife, one person's doing, not as good as the other one. And they kind of depend on the other person. And they don't want to level up, but they're also resentful that they rely on this person. That's a way to be toxic in and of itself. So yeah, I think it's yeah, bare minimum is a job and all your teeth. Yeah, bare minimum is having benefits. Like, the idea that bare minimum is being physically, spiritually, mentally, health wise, financially, like, that's bare minimum. Like, fuck out of here, because there's no way you're those things yourself. If I went to all those people who were saying that that's bare minimum, I bet you if you go through their social media accounts, they're always bitching about something, and or they're single or whatever, talking about all this stuff, or you know talking about all this crazy stuff. Like, I'm looking at the tweets of one of the girls who said, that's the bare minimum, and she's tweeting all about like nonsense and Twitter drama and like porn and stupid memes. You know what I mean? Like, and she's out here saying bare minimum. She's just doing like silly celebrity stuff. And I bet you if I went through every one of the tweets, they'd be like Nicki Minaj barbs and all this crazy stuff. So yeah, it's like, if you're gonna say the bare minimum stuff, I better go to your account and I'm like blown away. And I gotta follow it and take notes, but it's not. All these people are posting like chicken head tweets saying bare minimum. So it's like, yeah, of course you're gonna not want to be with the guy that's being described, but don't say bare minimum because you're not those things yourself. So yeah. Totally. Yes, we want to work with someone. A lot of people refuse to do work. So share this with people. I want to hear people's thoughts. Share them. I'm curious what people have to say. We have Nikki in this chat. Much respect to Nikki. I'm very glad that you were a good sport and shared your thoughts. Some people, they can't disagree without getting mad, and I think you showed a lot of character. I like that. And we're not all gonna agree, and maybe Nikki's right and I'm wrong. So share this around. I want to hear what people say in the comments. I want people to share this with their friends. Share this on Twitter. I want to see what people who have strong opinions on this video think. I'm catching up on these comments, and because I'm late, I don't know what they're in response to. So I don't know what this refers to. I told you that we're going to do that to you because I'm seeing it late. I'm catching up in the comments now. Um oh, check your text. Give me a second. Yeah. Okay. All right, guys. But thanks so much. Oh, you got banned permanently on Twitter, Nigel. That's a whole different story. Oh yeah, yeah. They paid. He might be abusive. Yeah, no, it's totally true. Yeah, they brought up abusive, and again, spiritually on point doesn't mean abusive. You know, yeah, they brought up ugly, but they said physically on point. Like, yeah, and I think that's not a deliberate misunderstanding. A lot of people want to diffuse the cognitive dissonance that comes from an uncomfortable realization. This is kind of something that resonates with you for that split second where it's like, why don't I want this good person? And either you're gonna push through it to insight and growth, or you're just gonna find a way to stay who you are. And I think that's what happens. That's what happens a lot. All right, everybody, take care. Uh, give us likes, support us on the places in the bottom, Venmo or Cash App at Champagne Sharks, PayPal, champagnesharks at gmail.com. Show us some love and subscribe to us on patreon.com/champagne sharks. And I hope you got a lot of value on this. And yeah, thanks so much. Thanks so much, Nikki. And we appreciate everybody, even people who disagree with us, as long as you do it thoughtfully and in good faith. So yeah, take care, everybody. Be good.